Welcome back to another episode of the Battle Buddy Podcast. Today, got an amazing conversation with a veteran who, just like a lot of us, has gone through a lot of different things, but he has found some very, very interesting ways to kind of deal with some things. Um, some of it's travel, some of it's smiling, but I don't want to give away too much. So, without further ado, we'll just get right into the conversation.
Welcome to the Battle Buddy Podcast with Keith McKeever.
So, welcome to the Battle Buddy Podcast, Tholin.
Hey,
Glad to have you here.
What's Clyde? I'm
Yeah.
good. Great to be here. How are you?
I am great, man. You know, every day that you get up and you can look and see the sky, how can you not be grateful, right?
That's what I'm talking about. It's all
Yep.
about being grateful.
Absolutely. So, share with us a little bit about your military background. What brought you into the military? What'd you do? Those kind of things.
What brought me into the military was definitely I felt like I was born to do this, For ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to do something like warrior, something that was like leading people into battles. I don't know why. Ever since I was a kid, I played with the toy soldiers, the parachute soldiers, and this was in the Caribbean, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where I was.
Was that the little plastic ones with? Okay, gotcha.
With the plastic parachutes on top. Yep, I would go and I would throw them off, and off high buildings, and just watch them go down. Sometimes I'll jump off the high buildings too, so learning how to land and things like that. So it was pretty. I would say it was written in the stones that I was going to be in the military. Like my family, my mom, they all knew it. I was in the Cub Scouts. In our island in St. Vincent and Grenadines, they have Cub Scouts, and then I was also leading the platoon there. And then I was in the cadets, which is like our military for our island, but it's a step up from the Cub Scouts. And then when I came to the States, I finally joined the Army.
Okay.
So in the Army, I was 19 Delta Cav Scout. If you ain't Cav, they know what that means. I know you were Air Force, right?
I was Air Force. Yep.
Right. So
I'll tell you what, I don't know what the rest of it means, but I have heard that before. So
you heard it before?
I have heard that before. I don't know the rest of it means, but I know it's an inside thing.
Yeah. So the rest of it is, if you ain't Cav, you ain't shit.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Well, everybody's got to talk a little shit every now and then. Everybody's career field is, means a little something special to them. So
yeah, definitely.
Yep.
So I definitely loved being part of the Scouts, and it's a big pride for me. 19 Delta Cav Scout. Did 2 deployments to Afghan and 1 to Nigeria. It was great times. I loved the combat aspect, because you finally feel like you got to do your job, especially as a scout. Ended my career as an E5. Got out. And that's basically where I am now. But I love the military, loved everything about it. Didn't end on a good note, the way I wanted it to end. I expected to be in for a very long time and possibly be a sergeant major of the Army and stuff like that. But yeah, here we are.
Well, there's one thing about life. It's going to throw you some curveballs, right? There's going to be some things come at you that you didn't see. But everybody's got goals, and that's definitely a lofty goal, right? Sergeant major of the Army. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
not everybody, says that's a goal of mine. I mean, I even know, when I was in the Air Force, that conversation always comes up, like, oh, would you stay in for 20, 25, 30? Would you ever want to be Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force? Would you ever want to be, command chief, or have anywhere near those top 5%, 10% of leadership positions enlisted? And most people are like, no. Maybe the rank and the pay, but not those top positions.
Yeah.
But but hey, only one person gets it at a time, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's interesting because a lot of guys that I was in with, they also thought the same. But it's interesting that most of them are still in. They're still in the military, but they never wanted to, advance or really cared about, getting to a high position like that. For me, my I had like a very deep connection to why I wanted to be that rank. Like everything in life, I kind of add like a meaning to it. Like there's an external uh achievement of people see, oh, this is the goal, right, of achieving that rank. But for me was to be able to live out my actual goal, which was just to be an honorable soldier and to provide leadership, outstanding leadership to to manifest and to produce outstanding leaders under my leadership as I progress in ranks. So that was pretty much what I wanted to do. And the way I saw it is you have to achieve Sergeant Major of the Army to really, make a huge impact like that in the military.
Well, that is definitely, most certainly, a position that should be channeling that kind of message down for sure.
Right.
And I mean, yeah, nobody wakes up every day and just says, "I'm gonna set this goal for no particular reason." So, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of there's a lot to it in that position where they really need to push that down to all the troops. The right leadership. But unfortunately, I know you suffered some issues with leadership. Um, Care to share what those issues were?
Yeah, I mean, just like any of us, right? I mean, just like many of you who are also listening, we go through that with leadership. Sometimes we have good leadership, sometimes we have bad, right? And I've noticed that a lot, and that's kind of how I kind of set up my way of being a great leader. When I was in, was I looked at the guys that did good and I took things from them. I looked at the guys that did bad and I took, I'm like, that's not who I'm
Yeah.
gonna be,
Don't
right?
follow that example.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, my problem with that I had with leadership getting out was very tough, man, because I expected, to have a lot of leadership have my back and stuff like that when I was doing great things in the military. And then when it was time for me to get out, which were some circumstances that I can control outside of my control, and I started to think of what's best for my family. Now I'm getting out. They kind of turned their back on me, man. It's kind of tough, going through military, doing so many great things, giving your whole life, giving your whole family, giving everything that you have towards the service of being a great soldier for not only yourself but for your family, for your leadership, for your organization, right? And giving everything that you have towards them, and then they turn their back on you when it's time for you to leave. So that was tough for me. I didn't even get a ETS award, man, for all the things that I did. And even I had soldiers that weren't they didn't do much in the army. Some of them even got in trouble. But I always believe that because somebody volunteered and give their time and their life and effort to their country, they deserve something to leave with. So it was kind of tough for me realizing that kind of happened to me when I've done so much for the military and for my leadership at the time. So it was tough, and it kind of spiraled into a lot of depression. Even from getting out, feel like I'm losing my purpose. I lost everything. But no longer being a soldier. So it was kind of scary transitioning into a civilian and dealing with that, and that led me to what I do now, um, in the same aspect, which is kind of powerful to me, and I'm proud about, because I didn't let what happened, how my time ended with the military, to still keep serving veterans, still looking for ways to help veterans, be better outside, from being better inside. So
Well, what's weird is if you would have stayed in, how do I want to put this? You might have a bigger impact doing what you do now on people than if you would have stayed in and made sergeant major of the army. It sounds weird to say that because I mean you could have almost immeasurable impact in that role, but you
Yeah.
just never know. Like, you never know what the path of life is going to take you, and how many people you're going to impact, where you're going to impact them, to what degree you're going to impact people, and you can't predict the future. So, yeah, it's kind of a, a neat thing that you should probably sit there and just be, kind of grateful, be like, wow, I, hindsight's 2020, right?
Yeah.
When you're
Yeah.
getting out, like, wow, I'm lost. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. But like, you sit there now and be like, oh, this is pretty cool what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in
Yeah.
the same boat with this podcast. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, I don't know how many people I really, like how deeply I touch, people. I mean, I can look at the analytics and stuff, but like, I don't know to what level, how many people exactly, to what level I impact people's lives, but I know it does,
Yeah.
but it's like, I wouldn't, 11 years ago when I got out, like what, 12 years ago, I guess now, if you would have told me I started a podcast and was talking about veterans issues, I would have been like, dude, I don't even know how to be a veteran yet. You know what I mean? Like, so you just don't know a path like you're going down. So,
Yeah.
but there's definitely something to that, being like lost and like not knowing
Yeah,
like what you're
definitely.
doing.
Definitely. I see that, and definitely tell you, I mean, for being on here, I knew you, like, I've seen the impact that you make with your content, the things that you do, the buddy check, all that is connected to definitely, just having a battle buddy podcast, like, so veterans always know that they're not alone, and you're there for them all the time, and giving them the knowledge of, like, other guys like that came on to like, what's his name, Cortez, Danny, all these guys that are doing successful things in their life. It definitely, like, I wish I had your podcast when I was in, bro, to be looking at it and be getting all this knowledge and gain all this insights that we get from everybody on your podcast that come on that are already doing great things outside. So that's like an inspiration to say, hey, it's going to be fine for me outside, as well as I can make things great for me inside as well. So knowing both spectrum would be fine. So definitely thank you for
Yeah.
for all you do on your end.
Well, thank you for the kind
And
words.
yep.
And yeah, for those that are getting out, come on in. The water's fine.
The water's great.
Yeah, the water's great. Yeah, I mean, I joke to
Yeah.
people all the time, like, hey, what, you take that uniform off for the last time. Welcome to the Cool Kids Club.
Yeah.
You get to join the biggest fraternity, sorority, Cool Kids Club, whatever you want to call it in the world. We're all veterans. We're all
Yeah.
one all big, all happy, dysfunctional family. But it's but we're a big
Yeah.
family. We have to take care of each other, and there are so many more resources now that, like I said, it's been so long since I got out now, which, gotta be careful when I say that, because I mean, I could have some Vietnam veterans or some Korean veterans. It's been a really long time for those guys,
Yeah.
but it's things have changed.
Hmm.
Back in 2011 when I got out, like, yeah, there was YouTube, there was Facebook. I'm sure there was a ton of nonprofits around the country, but there wasn't a ton of people that were doing podcasts or video, vlog series on YouTube and whatnot.
Yeah.
So like, I'm sure there was resources, but not like as easy to access today. I mean, we got TikTok, right? I mean, like,
Right.
it's media's at our fingertips. We can't avoid it. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I saw you
just
had you
easier.
had you had somebody, you had Natalie on your from TikTok. She's crushing
Yep.
it with the mental health. And that kind of leads into, like, your statement where, I would not have the amount of impact that I have now if I was stayed in as a sergeant major in the Army, right? Because when I was in, I didn't have the chances to talk really about mental health. There's a big stigma, with it. When I was in, I don't know how things are now, but we all know there's a huge stigma with it, and that's something, like, I was dealing with a lot. I was on like 17 meds when I got out, man. When I was getting out, I was very depressed. I was on the couch all the time. I couldn't get off the couch. I was just really down. Nobody really to help me. I was still in Germany, so I wasn't back in the States where I can get a lot of help and things like that. So it was definitely, that's when, like you said, that situation of me getting out and not keep going up the ranks, I was able to finally talk to like therapists that's not connected to the military, and they're like, yo, this is not a good way to be thinking. Like when I step in the room, I'm scanning the room and stuff like that. I hear loud noise that I was blacking out when I'm around fireworks and zone out, and I can be around those things. So it was getting out, and there's leaders in the military that was telling me, it's fine, because other veterans, hey, we hide from it. We don't go out in the fireworks. We don't go to loud noises. We stay out of crowds, things like that. Oh, it's perfectly fine to scan the room. I'll do it too. So it was getting out that definitely helped me to see, hey man, this is this is not normal. That's what they had to tell me, and I got to see that, and that's what got me to start working on myself. And I started to look into like, how can I help with situations for myself, right, in the situation that I was at the lowest level, because I wasn't going to get as much help as people in the veterans in the States who can get help from the VA and stuff like that. So that's how I look at a lot of things, like how can I, what's the solution on the most basic level. you know how
Yeah.
are veterans that don't have the VA, don't have access to the resources we do, how are they taking care of themselves, right? How are they dealing with these things? So that was the biggest thing for me, like find the most basic solution. Everyone else is worried about the complex things, but what's on under the surface? It all starts with me.
Well, it goes back
We
to
are
like
the
that.
solution.
What's it? The KISS principle, whatever. The keep it simple, stupid. You know what I mean? Like, don't overcomplicate it. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different things that you can do, and I'm glad you brought up like, you know, the VA resources and that you didn't have them, because if you are in the VA system, you should definitely be using the VA system. But we do know that statistically, a lot of people who are unfortunately taking their own life, vast majority, I think it's like 60, it's like 2/3, I think, are outside of the VA system,
Hmm.
which that's obviously part of the problem.
Yeah.
But you had to find creative ways yourself because you were not anywhere near a VA system. You weren't even in the country because you were traveling around and shooting. You've got a couple of YouTube channels, but you and your wife were traveling around the globe and visiting, I'm sure, like a million wonderful, beautiful, warm, tropical places that we were all would be super jealous to know that you were at.
Yeah.
But what kind of things did you learn doing that, or what kind of tricks did you learn to navigate that without those VA resources? Because I
Yeah.
know resources are kind of limited in some countries too, especially with mental health. I mean, we know there's a stigma here, but I'm sure in other countries it's just as bad or worse, to get a mental health provider. So you kind of just, I'm assuming, just kind of stuck with it and dive into it and figure it out yourself.
Yeah. So for me, it started first at that. I was trying to think of like what can help, and that's where the Just Smile came from, for Just Smile over. So I can tell you right now, right, Keith, just smile, right?
Yep.
And you see after a while, look, the smile is still there, on your face and stuff like that. But how did that feel for you?
I felt good. If,
Right. So
yeah.
that's why I started digging a little bit deeper into was, hey, is it the smile that brings the joy, or is it the joy that brings a smile? I know I asked you this, and what was your response the first time?
If I remember right, my response was something along the lines of like, I don't know. Like, I don't, I, like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, I really don't know.
Yeah. And that's how I was too. Sometimes, so before I even thought maybe, hey, it's the joy that brings a smile. That's how we always thought, right? But then the more I started studying into it, I started studying like psychology and things like that. And the more I start studying into it, I start to learn that it's actually the smile that brings the joy, right? And if you change the state of your being, then it would help you to be more joyful. So it's how you can access more joy, just by smiling. the muscles in our face and our cheeks, they activate certain chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, stuff like that, that brings joy to you because your body is used to and your mind is used to whenever your face makes that movement of smiling, right? It brings joy to you. So it's how can you spread that also to everyone else? And then I started doing that more, and because I was a serious guy all the time, being in the military. So I started smiling
I think
more.
that's a pretty common trend with most of us. I
Yeah,
hear that from my wife all the time. She's like, "Can
yeah,
you will you loosen up?" And it's like, I don't really know how to do. I don't know how to do
yeah.
that.
So it's just learning that like those little things, just simple basic thing like that can help you so much, getting out of whatever you're feeling, even dealing with PTSD and stuff like that. It's just studying that little thing, of how can I change the environment if I'm feeling frustrated, hey, with a VA or something like that. I can just smile and bring some joy to my being right now. How can I easily access that? Because like we said, 2/3 or 70% of the veterans that do commit suicide are not connected to the VA. So it's like they don't have access to these resources. So it's like, how can you, be able to help yourself in the most basic form? Because if the VA is not there, okay, how can I help myself? My leadership is not there. How can I help myself? It all comes down to you and me, to make sure we're better than ourselves. So smiling was definitely the huge thing. It might sound so simple and stupid, but it's changed my life. It's changed a lot of vets' lives that keep hitting me up and they see how my life is now compared to how it was before, and I start seeing them a lot more happy and bringing a lot more happiness into their life. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Well, like I said a few minutes ago, like the KISS method, right? Keep it simple, stupid. There's
Yeah,
nothing simpler than a smile. I believe it takes like double the muscles to frown than it does to smile, something like
yeah,
that. I don't know.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not a medical guy. It's something like that though. Pretty
yeah,
close to that. So so technically, it's far easier to smile than it is to frown,
right.
and there's added health benefits.
Yeah, there's a
But
lot of health benefits
and if you're
pertaining
stuck, just put
to.
on South Park or something. You'll smile in a couple minutes.
Exactly. And that's the big part. Like put on, like, look for funny videos. I know there's Vet TV is hilarious, especially for veterans. You can connect to a lot of their stories. They do that dark humor that we like.
Yeah, but if your spouse is not a vet, let me just say this: I had Vet TV for a while. First time my wife sat down and watched it, she's sitting there for like maybe 5 minutes, and she just looks over at me. She's just like, "What? what? What is This is just what?"
Yeah,
And I'm like, "This is hilarious." She's like, "This is just disgusting and crude." And I was like, "This is great stuff."
yeah,
And yeah, so she did totally not get it. And I'm like, you just got to have a dark sense of humor, really dark sense of humor, but it works.
exactly. I mean, if it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah. You could always watch, pull up YouTube. You could always watch funny fail videos,
Cat
watching people hit
videos.
themselves, cat videos, uh, goat yoga, watching people accidentally hit themselves with the 2x4, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
but,
And
but
that led me into, starting the 10 for 10, just smile over, which 10 meaning, in 10 years. I started in 2020. So in 10 years to accomplish, getting the suicide rate down to 10 a day. Right. I know most people, they want 0 a day, but it's kind of like having a goalpost to go to, right? So instead of feeling like it's a huge goal of getting to 0, if we just aim for 10, okay, now we have some good motivation to see that, oh, we can achieve 10. What else can we achieve? Let's go for 7. Let's go for 5 next. What about 3, 2, 1, and then see if you can hit 0. So that would be the huge, that's the huge drive behind all this. And then what you do is is pretty funny. If you complete 10 pull-ups, right, then you will give a positive story of how you overcame to share with a military, with a veteran, right? So share your stories to veterans, and then if you don't achieve 10, that's when the funny side come in, that you give it your best military joke. Do you got one for us? Your best
Oh
military
man.
joke?
Man, I don't know if I got one on the spot.
Cool.
Oh gosh. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. How about, do you have one?
Mine would be like, well, it's always like joking about Marines and stuff like that. Any joke about
Well, I
Marines
mean, you
eating
can very
crayon. Yeah.
easily make that one.
What's the most destructive thing to a lieutenant?
A map.
There you go, map and a compass.
Okay.
Yep. Things
You
like
know,
that.
funny thing, I did see a lieutenant once, brand new lieutenant in a unit. Walked by his office and had to take a double take. He had his feet propped up on the desk and was reading a romance novel.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, wow, yeah, that must be nice to be a lieutenant, I guess,
Yeah.
and have no job responsibilities at all. Pretty boldly sitting there. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
typical butter bar. But oh man,
Yeah. I had a lot of guys bring up some very funny ones. I have to check my Facebook like way long, like a couple months ago. But it was there's some guys that have some witty ones that's pretty funny.
yeah. Well, most of the ones I usually hear is pretty much anything directed towards the Marines. Of course, I was Air Force, so there's all the Chair Force jokes. Which, you know what? When I hear it, I guess I'll say this. I do find those absolutely hilarious because I was security forces and the only chair I sat in was a squad car. So to me, the rest of the Air Force was like the chair force. They had their nice cushy offices, beautiful buildings. They got their down days, their R&R time or whatever. I don't know. We were always working. They got to go have their fun runs, but somebody still had to go put out the, you know, along with CE, had to go block the traffic and direct the traffic and stand out there, rain and shine. And yeah, that was us.
Yeah,
We never got to participate in anything fun. We were always, I guess somebody's got
yeah.
to guard the base, but so I always did find the chair force stuff funny. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's plenty of jokes to go around for sure.
Yeah, and that's why I say, like, being able to do the hashtag just smile over when you do your pull-ups, whether you do them on, you're able to achieve 10 or not. It still gives veterans something to look forward to, and just tap into, just type in the hashtag, and having that easily accessible whenever you're feeling down or feeling any type of way. You get to see that there's other veterans that are alive. So the big thing for me was when I started all this, and I got passionate about it when, one of my battle buddies that I've been with in my career, that he was involved in, the VA. There's a trend going on, with veterans going to the VA parking lots and committing suicide. And he was one of those. And when that happened, somebody said that this is what veterans do. And I took that very personal. I was like, no, like this, why is it a normal thing for you to not care because veteran committed suicide, and say this is what veterans do? So I've always wanted, ever since that day, it's been like my goal and my passion to always show that, hey, no, we're alive. Like, there's people like you. There's other veterans that's been on your podcast. You did 100 episodes. That's like 100, veterans that are still alive, doing great things in life. And this is what we also do. So it has nothing to do with suicide. Is not it's not what we do. So it's to have that place where those 70%, and whether they're getting the help or not, there's many resources. But for now, if you don't have access to the resources, here's something simple. you can do to keep surviving until you thrive, right? To stay alive. So it's pretty much showing, hey, there's other veterans out there that is alive, and this is how they're staying alive. So you get that motivation from just tapping into that just smile over um, link hashtag. So it's very very simple, very basic, um, that anybody can really do and get that motivation.
Absolutely. And I just put the banner to scroll across the bottom just in case anybody watching, if anybody's listening to as well. Remember, if you are struggling and you're listening to this, there are resources at the VA. The number is 988, press 1.
Hmm.
Because the most important thing is that you're here tomorrow.
Yep.
That is the most important thing. Because we want not only, well, let me say this. We not only want you here tomorrow, we want you here tomorrow smiling.
Yeah.
That's what we want. I might have
And
to add that.
there you go.
Because I always say this stuff at the end of the podcast too. I have to start adding it. We not
Yeah.
only want you here tomorrow, but we want you here smiling as well. So
There you go.
that
And
number
smile
is
is
988, press 1.
hmm and smile is so military individuals live every day. That's what I turned smile into. So military individuals live every day. And to say for that too is like the great Colin Powell or Colin Powell. I'm from the other islands, so we we say it different. But the great Colin Powell, he mentioned that, I read one of his books and he talked about that, like, and I always remember that it will be better tomorrow.
That's true. Tomorrow's another day. You never know what opportunity is ahead of you.
Hmm.
And yeah, you just got to make it till tomorrow. That's the key. You just got to
Yeah.
wake up tomorrow. So
Yeah.
that's some good stuff because we got to keep more people alive because I love the goal of 10
Hmm.
because I 100% agree with you that some people would say, yeah, goal's got to be 0. Unfortunately, we'll never get to 0. There's too many veterans. I don't know what the exact number is. I think last stats I looked across all generations alive right now, I think it's like 18 or 19 million something. But that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people that can fall through the cracks.
Hmm.
0 is a dream. It's never going to happen. Statistically, it'll never happen. We'll be lucky to get into the single digits at the rate we're going because the numbers have gone upwards. They've supposedly doubled to into the 40s.
Yeah.
So we're going the wrong way.
Exactly.
And a lot of that is, unfortunately, people who are not connected to the VA. Why? How? Man, I don't know. I don't know this. I don't know the solution there, but that's a big part of the problem. If they
Hmm.
were roped into the VA, maybe that's a trend that starts getting it down. Maybe mental health and the stigma being reduced
Yeah.
over time. Maybe that helps. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would love to see that number. I would be ecstatic if the VA came out with a report that said the number was 21. I tell
Hmm.
you what, I would jump for joy.
Yeah.
I really would.
Yeah.
I would be like, wow, that is one more of us that is alive every day
Yeah.
off that 22 number. But unfortunately, the number is apparently doubled.
Yeah.
So, like,
And yeah, and that's why I love, the quote from what's his name? Um the quote from Nelson Mandela that says, it always seems impossible until it's done. And that's kind of what, pretty much drives, the just smile over and drives me to keep doing it as well. Yeah, this 10 is also kind of impossible, but the way I look at it is a vision into action completes the mission. And that's what's powerful for me is like if we all bought into it, and the numbers might seem like it's double now, but when you do some research and dig a little deeper into how a lot of the numbers even came about, you can tell, you will be able to tell like there's a huge accuracy problem with data, of how they're tracking the numbers.
Of
So,
course, yeah.
you know, so that's something I've been working on a lot, ever since I'm back in the States and not really traveling as much as I used to, is connecting with different organizations and programs to see, hey, how can um we get a little bit more accuracy on the data and numbers. And that's like a coalition for military families. I was in a veteran symposium about 3 weeks ago, and it was kind of cool connecting with a lot of organizations, seeing what they're doing that's impactful in the veteran community. And one that stuck out to me was Be Connected. I'm trying to connect to these guys, and what they're doing. They have a risk reduction program, which they're being proactive, right, about with helping veterans instead of waiting until the problem happens. They're seeing what veterans and how they're at risk for age, where they live, or if they have disabilities. They already know what the high risks look like, and they're already reaching out to those veterans in the state. So even when a veteran comes to the state and they know, hey, this is a veteran, they're already reaching out to them and already trying to reduce the risk, which would help reduce the suicide rate. And then they're using their data that they learned from that, right, from those veterans to keep track of the numbers.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love using data to track and predict,
Yeah.
because if used right, it can be a very, very powerful tool for something like that. Because I've said from the very beginning of this podcast, the things that I noticed that made me start this was that there was certain things that led people to substance abuse, homelessness, and suicide, and that was physical and mental health issues, close family relationships, lack of connection to the community. And that doesn't have to be necessarily the veteran community, but just the community in general. It could just be your local community. It could be church community. It could be whatever, just being connected to a community. And it could be employment, gainful employment of some sort, right? Not necessarily how much you're paid, but that you're paid well enough, but you have a job that you enjoy, that you get up and you have purpose to. Uh, and the last one would be the financial and legal kind of issues that go on. The more of those that are in turmoil, the more likely the roof on the house is going to collapse.
Yeah.
And if you really were to pull back the curtain on people who have unfortunately taken their own life, or who are experiencing homelessness or substance abuse issues, you're going to find that probably at least 2 or 3 of those are a serious issue for them, if
Yeah.
not all 5.
Yeah.
And so you have to address those things.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of organizations that just want to, oh, let's just address this. Let's address the end thing. No, you have to address the problem that started it. Like financial issues, it starts with a budget.
Hmm.
It starts with a job that pays well enough to pay the bills, and a budget so you know how to. It's simple. It's that
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, it is. It is, and that's the thing why I said, when you think about it, right? When you think about it, this is why I said we are the solution, right?
Hmm.
Us veterans,
Absolutely.
we're the solution for this, right? For the suicide and everything. We are the solution. Like, we can't depend too much on outside external resources when a lot of it is going to come internal. Just like the things you said, right? The major stressors, right, that cause suicide in veterans, right? With veterans, the top 3 are relationship problems, right? Financial problems and legal problems, right? Relation problems, you have great resources on here. I looked at what's his name, Danny Mayberry, his
Yeah,
5 pillars. That helps with connecting all of that really relationships and finding community and belonging and all this stuff, right? That's something you can personally do for yourself, while you're working on yourself, right? The same
absolutely.
as financial, right? Conrad, right?
Hmm.
Right. dude that knows his financial
Wrote the
stuff.
book on financial basics for troops.
Right,
Simple, effective blueprint right there. Yep.
right. And he learned these things from military, right? While he was in the military and when he got out. And then you have legal problems. Something that I found out, man, at this symposium was I never knew about. There's veteran court, right? If you have a misdemeanor, it can get erased if you're a veteran while you're in court, that you would actually have a court process, right? To reach out, if you reach out to veteran court. You know about veteran courts, right?
Yeah.
Right. I never knew about them. And that I feel like that's a huge thing that
Yeah, I don't
they're
think it's really
helping.
talked about too much.
And it needs to, man. It needs to, because a lot of veterans that are in that 70% range, I would say, because they're having a lot of legal problems, especially from even being inside, right? And then
Now I need to
getting
find.
out.
Now I need to find an attorney who's dealing in the veterans court.
There we go. There we go.
I gotta do
I,
some
I might
searching.
I
I
might
gotta.
be able to help you
Yeah.
find somebody,
Okay.
because
All
a
right.
judge,
Yeah.
yeah, a judge, he definitely he did like a big skit for us and everything. He
Oh man,
showed it.
Judge would be good too, man. Somebody in that space that could talk about it, dude. We got to do that. We got to make that happen.
Yeah,
That'd be powerful. Powerful
yeah.
resource.
Man, I was blown away. I was like, yo, you know how much people this can definitely help, like veterans that dealing with drug issues, all this stuff. And your misdemeanor would get erased by you completing a program that's going to help you be a better person, to deal with your drug issues, to deal with your financial issues, to deal with the violence, anger, all
Yeah,
this
that
stuff,
way that
man.
stuff's not following you along. It's not kind of being dragged along with you, kind of in your back pocket as you're looking for jobs and relationships and all this stuff. And yeah,
And-
that's that. I can't imagine, having to go through that
Yeah,
and having all that extra baggage trying to go through things. So yeah, no, it's a great program, but I don't know that much about it. We're definitely gonna have to find somebody to talk
yeah,
about it. That's a good one.
yeah. I'll reach out to the people who did it here, and I've always also saw, like, there's a lot of people who want to do it in their state because they're seeing how powerful it is, especially to helping veterans get back on their feet and stuff like that. And they don't care about if you are honorable or dishonorable. So that I thought that was the powerful thing, where they're helping any veteran once it's a misdemeanor now. And obviously you have to go through their program. You have to stop using drugs. You have to meet with their counselors every week, and things like that. Once you're taking the action to do that, and they're very lenient with you, would help you out, but it's all based on you again. It's all based on you. So that's how I like to look at a lot of things in life. Is what are you doing for yourself as well? We are the solution. We got to be there for each other, like how you do your battle buddy checks, stuff like that. Like, when's the last time you checked up on your battle buddy who's not who got a dishonorable discharge? You know what I'm saying? Like, that stuff we also got to think about and look into, to helping those guys as well, and reach out to them, and make
Well, and
sure they're straight.
I mean, that is this segment of the overall veteran population that's going to fall outside of the VA.
Hmm.
And they're going to very likely be outside of any kind of, I guess I'll say, social networks, right? Because they're probably got out, went back home, may not engage much on social media, things like that. So,
Yeah.
you may not have heard from them for a long time. So that's a darn good question. But,
Exactly.
one word that just kind of came to my mind was accountability.
Mm.
Like, we have to be accountable to ourselves, like with Veterans Court. Like, you have to be accountable to yourself, like going through the program. Like, you have to be committed to it. You have to hold yourself accountable, but we have to be accountable to our battle buddies,
Yeah.
which is, that's one of the coolest things about being on this journey and talking to so many other people, because there's so many awesome people that are finding their own little ways, like
Yeah.
yourself. And I've actually talked to a couple other people this morning too that are doing things in their own little way too. And it's like, man, it's so awesome that so many people just finding ways to just connect with other vets daily, weekly, whatever, to impact lives. And it's like, that's just what we need.
Yeah.
That's what it's got to be.
Yeah.
One at a time.
Yeah.
One person at a time.
Yeah, it was sad for me to think about when I got out, that how we take care of each other in combat. We're there for each other, we support each other in combat, but then when we get out and people are struggling, it's a whole different story. So it's like, if we can do it throughout combat, why can't we do it here as civilians as well? Take care of each other, the people under the uniform. you know
Do you think some of that? I got my thoughts on it, but do you think some of that is because people? Well, some people stay around where their unit is, but a lot of people go back to their home of record,
hmm
and you're not physically right there all the time. Whereas, when when you're in the unit, you're reporting for duty every day. You're out there in the training, you're in the field or in the office with that person every day. It's so much easier to have each other's back.
right.
But when you're not physically there,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I could see that definitely as a huge thing, and that's why we got to consciously, remind each other all the time, and to see these things, right? Like like the hashtag, just smile over, to see that all the time. Hey, let me check up on my battle. To see Battle Buddy podcast. Hey, let me check up on my battle buddy, who I haven't talked to in a while. Let me see how he's doing. Yeah, let me do a buddy check. So it's like using social media to our advantage to always remind each other to stay alive.
absolutely. Because you just never know either. Some people struggling outwardly, right? They're kind of struggling because some people put stuff on Facebook all the time.
hmm
It's probably the ones who are silently struggling.
Yeah.
They have no idea. Those are the ones that you really need to do the buddy checks on. The ones that you're like, oh, they're fine, man. Dude, he's fine. He never posts anything like weird or concerning or whatever. Like, but the moment that you see them not post anything for a couple of weeks or something's off, that's when you need to do that buddy check on that person.
Yeah. Definitely.
So yeah, there's a lot more we could do. That's for sure. But
Yeah.
we have to be accountable. So, but another thing I wanted to bring up, wanted to get a little bit more positive on some things. When you were in, you were very forward thinking on some things. So I kind of wanted to speak a little bit to those that are maybe in service right now and thinking about that transition and thinking about getting out. When did you have a plan for getting out? When did you kind of start that planning, that thought process of getting out? Yeah, when did you really kind of start setting yourself up for success? If that makes
Yeah.
any sense.
Yeah. It all starts when we get in, man. It
Yeah.
all starts when we get in. Because I mean, let's be real. We all know that you're getting out the military. Either in
Yeah.
the body bag or coffin with a flag over your casket, or you're getting out alive. With life, you got to handle
Right.
life as a civilian.
But
So
you
for
really planned
me,
for it by you went and got 3 jobs to
yeah,
really set yourself up. That's where I was kind of leading with this.
yeah.
Like you really set yourself up for success.
Yeah, when I was getting out for transition, I had 3 jobs. I was working with the military, I was working bouncer at night at a club, and I was also doing Charlie's food. Something that I never thought I would be doing, but I love a challenge, so I was up for it, and I took it on. So because I knew I was getting out, so I needed to be very successful and already have a plan, and that's how I've always been. Like, even in my career, is I always have plans for what's about to come. So when something do happen, I have these strategies already ready to execute. So, and that's always made me very successful in everything I do, and that's why I help people now to do that in their lives outside military, just regular civilians. So that definitely helped me, having 3 jobs, so I wasn't very stressed about finance when I got out, but I was still dealing with a lot of depression and things like that, and very hurting. So that the big thing that helped me was finding my purpose, right? even though I had the jobs, right, I still struggled a bit because it was letting go of the soldier.
Yeah,
That's
that identity. Yeah.
right, letting go of that identity, and I was kind of lost, right? And a quote hit me that the ship that doesn't know what port it's going to, every wind is unfavorable, right? So even if I had all these jobs, right? I had these jobs, so finance was great. I already have in my mind, I'm setting up my family to be good for when I get out, right? Everything is good. I still felt some type of way. I still felt lost because now I'm losing that identity, which was my purpose to being a soldier, right? So that's when I started to let my purpose pave the way. So that's why I always tell, veterans that come to me for help and things like that, let your purpose pave the way, right? So in the military, we love acronyms. So PAVE was pretty much the acronym that I share with people that help them to find their purpose. So PAVE, P for passion, A for action, V for vision, and E is execution. So you ask yourself, hey, passion, what do you love? Right? Is that still hard for you to think about? What do you love? Because, you got out the military. Okay, I love the military. But under the uniform, let's talk to the person under the uniform. What has significant meaning to you? Right? So if you answer that, that will help you find your passion. And then action, what are you going to do? Again, you might feel like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do because I'm feeling lost right now. That's most of the questions they give. And I also was given at the time.
It's going to take some deep thought for these. Yeah.
Exactly.
A lot of reflection.
So that's when you ask yourself, what do you love doing? Now you got a little bit more clear about what actions you're going to take, right? And then vision, where are you going? If you don't know, where do you want to be? Right? And then execution, how are you going to do it? If you don't know, how do you love doing things? And then that would show you, your execution of how to always do things. And then when you put those together, it would definitely help. For me, I simply just love to travel and help people in need. So we kind of put it together, and it became just, we want to spread love, happiness, and peace to help people smile by making them hopeless, from bringing them from hopeless to hope more. And that became my purpose. So everything I do is aligned to that. And I also had my goal of, always being an honorable soldier and producing outstanding leaders under my leadership as I progress in ranks. And I'm still kind of doing that, in the Just Smile Over podcast, where a veteran could be better in. So it's teaching military individuals at the 2-year mark how to be better while they're in, to then transition to be a better veteran when they get out. Because your purpose, once you find that and you let that pave your way, whether you in is going to help you, whether you get out is going to help you still to always have that port that you're going towards.
Absolutely.
So you'll be straight. I got more of that.
Yeah, no, you have to nail. Well, let me rephrase it. You don't have to necessarily nail the transition process to be successful in life. But the more you can do in the transition process to set yourself up for success, the more likely you're going to have a smoother process.
Yeah.
That might be about the best way to put it.
Yeah, definitely.
Doesn't mean you're not going to have roadblocks or some speed bumps or some issues that come up, because you are going to possibly, you're probably going to struggle with your identity. You're going to struggle with some of the things that you went through that we all kind of struggle with. Like, who am I now? What am I doing? Like, even if you go through that exercise and you do it, I've been out years now, like even 10 years later, 15 years later, you could still go through that same exercise because you're going to be a different person in life. And that's still takes a lot of reflection to go through something like that.
Yeah.
Like, not easy questions, but you need to ask yourself some very difficult questions when you're getting out.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
I love that.
And learning this PAVE, man, that's like embedded in you. Like you said, it's very deep. I put tears on the paper. When I did this, man, I I had the lights off. I turned my phone off. Everything was off. And I sat there, just with a headlamp on, and I wrote all this stuff, and I got very clear about that. And I noticed it's always been embedded in me. And once you find that for yourself, I mean, you got your straight path, just like you said. You still have to deal with the identity part, and that's what I do now. I help people with that identity. As a eudaimonia strategist, that's what Noble Love is. I help people find greatness within themselves to take on their biggest challenges in life, and that's pretty much what helped me for that part. Where hey, you can pave your way, but who are you going to be with when you're going on that way? And that's the most important part. Just like you said, it takes a lot of work, and that's why I'm there to help people and guide them through that way. And most of my biggest clients are veterans that transition, and they're killing it, and they're loving life, freedom, so they have their things that they go through, but because of the strategies we build together, they're doing pretty good.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to flip back here. I wanted to give you a chance to, we talked about traveling earlier. I said you did a lot of traveling to nice, fun, warm, exotic places around the globe. But I know you got a couple of YouTube channels. They're linked down in the description. But go ahead and share with us a little bit about, what you've done on the different channels, and
Okay.
where people can follow you and what they can see on the channels.
All right. So the first YouTube channel I'll talk about, which Keith is hitting on, is Happy Dream Empire. So that's happy as HAPPEA. And that's like what I was saying, like we lived our purpose is happiness and peace. So my empress is happiness, I'm peace. Did a lot of work to get here. But yeah, that's what we do, and we just travel the world helping people in need. We've hit a couple countries in the last year. We've worked with organizations like was it Red Cross for volcanic eruption in the Caribbean. We did family animal shelter. We did was that? It's been so much, man. Salvation Army for Christmas, where we handed out a lot of toys and food. We delivered food and to homeless in different countries. So also we started doing something for ourselves where we created it's called Make a Stranger Happy, where people donate money and we do something good for somebody else to make a stranger happy. So we call it Buy Someone a Tea and Make a Stranger Happy. So you can check all that out on Happy Dream Empire. Just Smile Over podcast on YouTube. I just started. I'm starting to get into this talking thing more and being in the spotlight. I'm learning from Keith, watching him, how he's handling a lot of these things. I'm still not used to the whole social media thing and being upfront and talking, unless it's something obviously you see like I'm very passionate about. But there is Just Smile Over podcast where a veteran could be better in. And that's more targeted to the 2-year mark soldiers, because I think that's a vital part where you got to make the big decision whether you're going to stay in or get out. So here's some tips, just like we're doing, right? How to be better while you're in, and how to deal with things, with struggles while you're in. So when you get out and be a veteran, then you already have these tools and strategies for yourself to be great and keep doing better, bigger and better things. So that's, did I miss something else? All right. So best way to reach me is IG. I'm trying to build that up. So Instagram. So it's Noble Love. So just like this, Noble Love _ yourself. And that's where you can find me on IG. And also I'm trying to build up the YouTube channels as well. Once I get a process, I can start, putting more videos out, and I like to do that live. So would love to have people, just coming in and giving some feed. So something I'm also still working on is the dealing with PTSD. I was able to overcome my PTSD connected to fireworks a year ago. Well, back 3 years ago, and I'm still working with a psychologist who was connected to the UN, United Nations, and we're trying to work on how, like, to figure out a lot of what I did, what is about me that I was able to do this, and he's putting together his studies and stuff like that, and then we'll hopefully be able to launch this soon to help other veterans to overcome their PTSD as well. So it'll be great.
That would be a game-changing study there.
Yeah,
At least for a couple people, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So I highly encourage everybody to hop on over to YouTube, check out YouTube there, check out Instagram. I'm sure everybody's already on all those platforms. So I thank you so much for being here, sharing with us. Definitely everybody should have some takeaways, especially the easy one. Just smile.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah,
So
just think about how can I smile and change how I'm feeling right now.
absolutely. I know, no doubt about it. The rest of my day, I'll have a smile on my face.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And that's
So I
something I forget to say too. My Just Smile Over podcast is dedicated to on in honor of my first battle buddy that passed away, Brendan Castro. When I was first a private, he passed away, and I was recently able to finally get over that hump of finally going and visiting his grave 10 years later. It took me a very long time. It was very tough for me to do it. It was very emotional, and but once I did it, I felt so much release off of my shoulder and my mind. And it definitely helped me to get his blessings from his family to do this podcast. So on there, I'll say skadoosh, and that was his saying. So yeah,
awesome. Well, Tholin, I appreciate you being here and sharing with us.
yeah, definitely appreciate you too, Keith. Man, keep doing great things, and let's continue to grow and be serving, veterans like ourselves because we are the solution. And your Battle Buddy podcast is definitely a huge help and push forward the needle to that solution.
You got it, man. Look forward to seeing you grow too.
Yeah. All right.
All right, there you have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed. Remember, the National Suicide Hotline is 988 press 1, or you can text 838-255. And also remember, we want you here tomorrow because we want you to smile. See, there you go. I told you I was going to add that in there. And remember, the website is battlebuddypodcast.net. As I always say, always looking to add resources to it. So if there's something that's not on there and you think it should be, please reach out and let me know what you think it should be.